It's interesting, isn't it, that there's such a strong association between ghosts and houses. Not hospitals where people die every day, but home, where people presumably die rarely, and the place where you feel safest. Houses embody the passage of time as well as the passing of life, outlasting their residents but absorbing a little of each of their souls, happy ones and sad ones. The older the house, the greater the source material. So where better to find haunted houses than in London, an ancient city with plenty of creaky old dwellings. Covent Garden and Holborn are full of ghost lore, as of course is the East, where Jack carried out his gruesome mission all those years ago. But nowhere more so than in Mayfair, which is said to be the location of London's most haunted house, in a place called Berkeley Square. It's a residence tormented by what became known simply as the Nameless Thing, a feared and gruesome entity blamed for madness, terrifying occurrences, and a string of deaths in its attic room. It's a scary story, so enter if you dare, the house at number 50, Berkeley Square. In the heart of London's prestigious Mayfair district stands a large and handsome Georgian townhouse. It has elegant brickwork, sash windows, sturdy iron gates, a row of decorative dwarf conifers, and even a blue plaque reminding passers-by that George Canning, the short-lived British Prime Minister, once lived there. 50 Berkeley Square is quite the residence, but not just because of its status and opulence. It also harbours dark secrets, at least by reputation, and is often called London's most haunted house, a status it has never quite managed to shake off. Stories of madness and murder stick to it like so many static charge socks, and no wonder given the array of happenings reported to have taken place there during its hellish heyday in the late 19th century. But it all started so harmlessly. When Prime Minister Canning disembarked the mortal coil in 1827, the house passed to an aristocrat named Elizabeth Curzon, who lived there without incident until she too passed on in 1859 at the commendable age of 91. But it was under the next resident that things took a turn for the unusual. Thomas Myers, the son of a wealthy politician, appeared in the 1851 census at the age of 46 as an annuitant, or someone who lives off the income from an annuity. He moved into 50 Berkeley Square when Lady Curzon died and remained there until his own demise in 1874. It's not completely clear why rumours started about the house during this time, other than that Myers was something of an oddball or loose cannon, described by a relative as exceedingly eccentric to a degree that bordered on lunacy. His rumoured habits endorsed the fact. It was said that he never ever left the house and quickly fell into a nocturnal lifestyle, slumbering the day away and wandering the house like a lost phantom at night. He was absent from censuses taken in 1861 and 1871, suggesting that he was reclusive enough not to be noticed by authorities. Neither did he routinely pay his taxes. In 1873, the parish tax collector recorded launching legal action against him. The house was described as unkempt and dirty, and after Myers' death it lay empty for a decade until it was finally snapped up, presumably at a discount, in 1884 by a chap called Lord Selkirk. The odd thing is that by this time the house had developed such a dire reputation that wagers were being laid on whether the Selkirks would just immediately pack up and leave. Why? Well, a rumour had sprouted, possibly from nowhere, that Myers was driven mad by unrequited love, having been jilted by his bride-to-be, perhaps even at the altar. The speculation this almost certainly apocryphal account gave rise to was compounded by gossips who reported seeing light from Myers' candle moving round the house at ungodly hours. Said gossips then made the almighty leap to suppose that a supernatural presence stalked the halls. A further rumour that he lived in a single attic room while the rest of the house was left to rot helped move things along, causing conjecture, hearsay, and ultimately good old-fashioned hysteria about what was going on. A demon is born. In 1872, the legend was given a boost when the Spiritualist magazine printed an account of a haunting at Berkeley Square, which it said had caused the deaths of 2 people. According to the report, a newlywed couple purchased the house only to be informed, having signed the deeds, of the presence of a ghost. They took the news well enough, but when the mother of the bride spent a night in the attic room, she died in her bed. A doctor was summoned in the morning, but failed to find the cause of death, except to say that it was attributable to a shock. Saddened, but unconvinced about the spook, a few weeks later the husband resolved to sleep in the attic room to see what all the fuss was about. His wife agreed, on condition that she would sleep just outside in the corridor, armed with 2 pistols, while 2 police officers staked out in an adjacent room. The husband took a bell with him and said he would ring it the moment a ghost appeared. Then he bid all good night and closed the door with a clunk. Sometime during the night, the bell clanged desperately, but when the wife burst into the room, pistols drawn, she found him on his back, stiff as a board, with a fixed stare on his face, quite dead. This time, the coroner produced the eyebrow-raising verdict that the man had died by the visitation of God. Incredibly, people swallowed this fanciful story whole, and from here, the legend erupted. In 1873, when Myers was being investigated for tax evasion, the presiding judge noted that his house was known to be haunted. A judge said that. Then appeared from nowhere the account of Lord Lyttelton, who kept a nighttime vigil in the haunted room, clasping shotguns loaded with silver sixpences. He survived the night, but only having discharged the coins into the floorboards. A maid went mad, having been given the room as her sleeping quarters. One night, alerted to her screams, the house's other occupants discovered her, white as a sheet and rigid, standing petrified and staring blindly ahead of her. Someone else hurled themselves from the attic window. Again, something to do with being jilted by a lover. By 1880, a procession of poor fools were said to have died in the attic room in a range of exotic and always mysterious ways, seemingly never forewarned about the deaths of those who had gone before. In reality, remember, the true chain of ownership featured just 4 individuals between Canning and Selkirk. So where did all these other people come from? Explanations as to what killed them also make very little sense, ranging from a fright to divine providence, and naturally, most of the descriptions involve the cold hand of the vengeful afterlife. Mayfair magazine reported many of these incidents and laid the blame at the feet of a little old woman in grey who had once lived at number 50 Berkeley Square and now loathed the earthly tenants. This might have been a reference to the late Lady Curzon, or it might have been plucked from thin air. There was a story about a couple who lived in the house but couldn't get into the attic room. Only a nameless person held the key. Another claimed that the nameless person practiced black magic in the mysterious room. Yet more included tortured children in the nursery, a mad brother locked in for his own safety, and a Scottish maid held captive in the roof. By the late 1800s, whole books were being published on the subject of 50 Berkeley Square, filled with third and fourth hand accounts of the supernatural occurrences at the house. As late as the 1920s, the legend was still going strong. One story from that time quoted a sailor who was driven half mad after breaking into the empty house for a nap, accompanied by a fellow able seaman. His friend, presumably having witnessed something awful, jumped from the attic window and was impaled on the railings below. With such a range of goings-on and no consistency as to who or what was causing them to happen, newspapers began referring to the legend simply as the nameless thing of Berkeley Square. Plausible explanations. To this day, reasons for the hysteria surrounding the house remain hard to fathom, but it's unlikely any of them stem from sightings of an actual ghost. Here are some candidate reasons. First and foremost, you have the idiosyncratic homeowner Myers, whose status and behaviour no doubt made him a magnet for gossip and conjecture. Then there was the rumoured sad state of the place, dark, unkempt and unloved, plus the fact that it lay cold and empty for so many years. There's nothing like an old abandoned house to get the nerves jangling and the imagination wandering. Combine these factors with the truism that we all love a good ghost story, and you have the ingredients of a fairy tale. In truth, there has never been a first-hand account of a ghost sighting at London's most haunted house, and most people quoted in the stories never even existed. None of the businesses or residents located at the house in modern times have ever reported mysterious happenings, let alone people coming to physical harm. Although rumour has it that the attic is always kept locked and unused, it's probably nothing. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a good old-fashioned myth, and there's nothing wrong with that. But while there are tales to be told, there will always be a nameless thing at 50 Berkeley Square. His friend, presumably having witnessed something awful, jumped from the attic window and was impaled on the railings below. Ah!
Hello. Are you going to put it in?
I might do. We'll see. You massively scared me.
Okay, I'm going to go now.
Okay, I'll be back in...
Bye, fellow obscurers. You should call them that.